Question number 5. Question number 5, Ujahile, has been asked by the Honorable M. Fengwa, the Honorable the President.
Honorable, thank
Hayi ke,
Umlomo, ngicela ungilekelele kancane.
nguwe lo.
Le mpendulo kade iphendula, bephendula
Ibibuye yakho.
sekuyimina-ke manje.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Mr. President.
So thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Mr. President, respectfully, I put it to you that you're not committed to your own commitments.
Huh?
Insofar as the reconfiguration of government is concerned. In 2018, you said, as indicated in the State of the Nation address, we have begun a review of the configuration, size, and number of national ministries and departments. In 2019, you said, to promote greater coherence, better coordination, improved efficiency, we have combined a number of portfolios. In 2023, Mr. President, you said, the presidential SOE, which I appointed in 2020, has recommended that government adopt a centralized shareholder model for its key commercial state-owned companies, and you go on. Again, in 2023, Mr. President, you said, I have instructed the presidency and National Treasury to work together to rationalize government departments, entities, programs over the next 3 years. Every year, every SONA, you kick the can down the road. What has emerged today, however, Mr. President, is an indictment on you, wherein it says the Department of Public Service Administration in April 2019 handed over to the president a substantive report on the macro reorganization of the state. It was never done. What has happened, Mr. President? In SONA, I pointed out to you, every time your government departments and ministers fail, you take on the responsibilities into the presidency. You have done the exact same thing. So, Mr. President, are you committed to the commitments you made to the public, to the country, to the economy? Because it seems as if everything you say does not happen. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable the President.
you may want to recall that prior to 2019, we had 34 ministries. I reduced that to 28 with the initial reconfiguration that I spoke about. And we have had 28, and I did also say the objective is to reduce further. And recently what I did say at SONA, Treasury, and the Presidency, including DPSA, are going to look at how we further reconfigure, because their reconfiguration report had brought us to 28. And I wanted us to go below that 28. This time round, because we are dealing with two key problems. The one problem is electricity, and I did say that I would like to appoint a Minister of Electricity, which would increase the number of ministries to 29 from 28. And in the course of looking at everything, including the enhancement of the capability of the state and the implementation process to get us over these challenges that we're having, I decided that we now needed to have a ministry standalone of monitoring and evaluation to make sure that there's full implementation. That has then brought us to 30, but not to the 34 that we had. And I have clearly said, this is a transitory process. I've said that very clearly, and there's been clear transparency on this. It's not for the weekend. I have said so very clearly because the work that we need to get done is the type of work that we need to focus more attention and to ensure that the work gets done over the next 12, 15 months. And beyond that, in the next administration, when this party will be back as the governing party. When this party will be back as the governing party, we will come back and reconfigure the state following the report that will come. And I have said, I'd like to see the ministries going further down. And this is a fairly simple. This is a fairly simple and straightforward. The first one, and you asked the direct question. Yes, the Ministry of Public Enterprises will cease to exist. It will cease to exist because the entities that are now overseen by the Ministry of Public Enterprises will revert back to their departments. And as I've often been saying, the coordinating structure, which is your state-owned enterprise holding company, which is going to enhance proper coordination, give us all line of sight of what's happening in our state-owned enterprises, the financial discipline that should be there, benefiting, as I said earlier, on the economies of scale when it comes to procurement, the board, the governance systems, and all that will now be housed in a state-owned enterprise holding company as that ministry then exists. Now, that ministry, as I said, is now in the process of putting together the legislation, putting together the wherewithal through which this holding company is going to function. So that is the way we are proceeding. I did make this public when I announced the various two ministries that we're going to have. Beyond that, we are going to look at the merger of certain departments. There are departments that lend themselves to being merged so that we have a much more efficient executive where we have lesser ministries. Now, this is work in progress, and the end, as far as I'm concerned, is in sight. You may well say, this is what you promised and so forth. In 2019, we had 34 ministries. We did bring that down by 6. Now we've gone to 30 for the reasons, yes, for the reasons that I have set out. And all these are transitory because we've got specific challenges that we are addressing right now. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable, the Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, you preside over one of the largest cabinets in the world and one of the most bloated and expensive. And Mr. President, you can fool some of the people some of the time, but not all of the people all of the time. And is it the reality, Mr. President, that sitting on your desk since 2019, there's a report from the Public Service Administration, which has done all this work that you said still needs to be done, has done all the studies, and that was completed way back in 2019. And they recommend cut the size of the cabinet, reduce the number of government departments, but that's been gathering dust on your desk since 2019. Mr. President, given the fact that we've got all these ministers living like rock stars, 97 mansions worth over R1 billion, free generators, free electricity, luxury vehicles, and sadly, they're not Fortuners, they are luxury, high-end luxury vehicles. Do you think it's fair that South Africans who are suffering under this cost of living crisis should exist with these ministers living like rock stars while they're suffering? And Mr. President, are you in receipt of this report from the Department of Public Service Administration? If so, why have you done nothing about it since 2019?
Thank you, honorable member. The Honorable, the President.
Well, I don't know about rock stars. Yeah, I don't know about rock stars.
Honorable members, please.
The report from the public service has dealt with the issues of, yes, reconfiguration, but also from the point of view of how some of the departments can be brought together and merged. Now, for the departments to be merged, we have found, as we did in 2019, by the way, also inspired by the work of that report, we found that it takes quite a while, because all of a sudden you'll find that you're merging two departments, you've got two DGs. And in some of them, you've got a number of DDGs. And as you bring the functions together, that tends to take more time, a great deal of time. And part of the work that was done to reduce from 34 to 28 was inspired by the work that was done. So that was inspired then. But then we said, we are going to do more further reconfiguration. And this is precisely what we are on the way to having done. Now, for this year and for the 15 months that we have, we've added 2 ministries. As I said, electricity, which is an existential challenge and problem right now for all of us as South Africans. 2, implementation process to make sure that everything is properly and well implemented. So, and I can understand on your side, you say it's bloated. By no means, we are not the biggest cabinet in the world. We are not by any means. And I have looked at a number of cabinets around the world. I have looked at them, and I found that we are basically in line with many others, having come from 28 ministers to 30, admittedly, which I have stated very clearly the reason for that. And I've also said it is a time-bound increase, and we are going to revert back to much less than the 28, because we are dealing with challenges right now. And I know, obviously, on the opposition side, there's no real understanding, for starters, and no understanding and no agreement. And I think that's where we part ways, and we must accept that there we part ways, because we have a particular focus, and because the focus is to address electricity challenge right now, we have decided to do it in the way that we are doing right now. But as regards reconfiguration, I can tell you now that I am focused on it. And my focus started in 2019 when I reduced the ministries from 34 to 28. Now, yes, there are 30, and they are going to go further down. Watch this space. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable. The Honorable the President.